Hello everyone. Today I am going to discuss with you a topic called as sick building syndrome and the steps taken for its cure. Sick building syndrome can be described as the situation where acute health problems are experienced by the building occupants, and it is mainly seen in people who are exposed to the indoor environment for a prolonged period of time. These health problems mainly include the breathing problems and headache, vomiting, nausea, tiredness, skin rash also. Uh, there has been lots of studies done around the world. You can also see these links and study the work that has been done. Now, how can we relate the health of a person with the indoor environment? You see, our region is a humid region, and our the atmosphere here is favorable for the growth of microorganisms. So obviously the microorganisms are present everywhere, and it will be present in the indoors also. So if you are staying indoors for a prolonged period of time, you are breathing the inside the building, and ultimately you are inhaling the microorganisms also, along with the various chemicals and other compounds that are there in the internal environment of the building. So as you are inhaling this stuff, you were you are ultimately uh, leading yourself to health problems. Now, World Health Organization has estimated that 30% of new and renovated buildings worldwide may be related to sick building syndrome. So you can see that it is not a small topic. It has found its mark uh, prominently. Now, if we look into the common location of microbes in the internal environment of the building, so the common locations include walls, cutting board, kitchen counter, toilet seat, pillowcase, doors, TV screens. So we should always be careful, and we should take steps to keep these areas clean. As I've already told you, why should we study sick building syndrome? Because Northeast India is a humid region, and humidity is favorable for the growth of microorganisms. Our temperature is also suitable for their growth, and dampness in walls is common scenario here. If the internal walls are damp in a building, then it is favorable for the growth of microorganisms, and as the population of microorganisms increases due to the dampness of internal walls, then what will happen? It will lead to more sickness to the people who are exposed to the internal environment for a prolonged period of time. Now, as I was going through the literatures, I saw one paper where assessment of sick building syndrome was done in the educational hospitals of Iran. Now, it was after the research, it was concluded that the nurses in the hospitals had health problems, and those health problems were uh, related. It was proved that the health problems had relation with the internal environment of those buildings. Now, my student, she did the same work uh, in North Lakhimpur area of Assam, and she did the same survey among the nurses. And at the end of her work, she got a similar conclusion that the nurses were suffering from various health problems, and these health problems could be related to the internal environment of the buildings. Now, how can we tackle it? So, one way of tackling this sick building syndrome is to develop structural elements of building which are antibacterial, antifungal. Now, for example, if we take mortar, the mortar which we apply on the walls. Suppose if we can develop an antifungal antibacterial mortar, if we place it, if we can apply in the internal walls, then the microorganisms which are inside, if when they come in contact with the walls, they can get killed. So uh, if we look into developing antibacterial antifungal mortar, we have to apply something in the mortar to make it antibacterial antifungal. So here I uh, I got to know that this tea tree oil has antifungal properties. You can search in the internet. You can see uh, various articles available which prove that tea tree oil has antifungal properties. Now, my student, she applied this tea tree oil in a mortar sample and exposed the mortar sample uh, to fungus, and it was found out that the mortar sample for tea tree oil was applied could resist the fungus. So detailed research can be done in this area. It was just a preliminary experiment. Again, we can use nanotechnology. We can use nanoparticles, and we can develop the mortar using nanoparticles and try to make it antibacterial and antifungal. And then, after successful development, if we apply that mortar in the internal walls, it can kill the microorganisms which are inside the building. When the microorganisms come in contact with those walls, now, this International Well Building Institute, what is it? If we look into their website, they're a certification agency. Okay, so if you suppose construct a building and you construct it in such a way that the internal environment of the building is such that it it does not create health problems, then that building will get well certification. So the basic aim of this agency is to assess the buildings and certify them if the buildings are having no symptoms of sick building syndrome. Now, if we see this website, Inhabitat, it's a very good website. You can see various works. You can learn about various works that are being done, which are eco-friendly, environment-friendly. So in this website, it was an article was written where an office was shown. The office was of a company called this Structure Tone, is located in New York City. So this office got well certification. That means the internal environment of this office is such that if you stay inside for a prolonged period of time, you'll not fall sick due to the internal environment. So I always try to insist on the fact that we should have such agencies in India also, similar to International Well Building Institute, which which can assess the buildings and which can provide certification if it is found out that these buildings contain no symptoms of sick building syndrome. So this is the internal environment, internal image of the inside of that office structure tone, which has got well certification. Now, what else we can do for making the internal environment uh, healthy for the people living inside? We can use snake plant. Snake plant is a toxin absorber. We can, while making, and again, when we make the plan of a building, we should give proper orientation to the room such that adequate sunlight falls inside the room. You see, if the sunlight is not falling adequately in a room, then again adds to the uh, it adds to the uh, fact that the growth of the microorganisms actually you see if sunlight does not fall in a room, then the condition in that room becomes more favorable for the growth of the microorganisms. So in that way also, suppose you are staying in a room which is not getting much sunlight, So in that room, the condition will deteriorate. The microorganism population will increase, and ultimately you will end up inhaling more microorganisms, and you will end up falling sick. Then again, we can use proper heating, ventilation, and air conditioning system to make the environments uh, proper. Then we can use exhaust. Then we should always check for dampness. We should always check for leaks. We should always check for proper drainage. We should provide circadian lighting system. I will go into the details of circadian lighting system just a short while from now. Um, then the image below, you can see that one guy is standing and one girl is sitting. So if we can make our office environment in this manner, that you can also stand and work instead of sitting and working for the whole day. You can instead of sitting for the whole day in one place, you can stand for some time and work. You can sit for some time and work. Then ultimately what will happen is you will ultimately end up doing physical movement, so which will benefit your health. So this type of settings should be applied in offices. Then now let us go to the circadian lighting system. If we look into the image in the top right, image is actually about circadian lighting system. So what is it basically? You see, our body is synchronized with the movement of the sun. Due to the sun only we know, isn't it? Whether it is morning, whether it is afternoon, whether it is evening, whether it is night. So um, suppose you are in a room where there is no like there is no passage for the sunlight to enter. All the doors and windows are closed, and only artificial lighting is there. So suppose you are staying in that room for the whole 24 hours. Then what will happen? Your body will not know whether it is afternoon, whether it is evening, whether it is night, whether it is morning, isn't it? Because only you are subjected to one light. So at the end, when your body is not getting synchronized, your body is getting confused, then ultimately you will not feel good. You will feel you will feel less efficient, isn't it? Your work efficiency will decrease. And again, for example, suppose you try to experiment it. Suppose in your room, suppose at in the night time, you close all the doors and windows such that no sunlight can enter, and you turn on the light and go to sleep. And in the morning you wake up like that. How will you feel? You will not feel good, isn't it? You need sunlight. So the artificial lighting system, the artificial light does not give you the proper benefit. You should know you should always feel the presence of sunlight. So for that, what is done is a new uh, development is being made in the lighting system, which is called the circadian lighting system, in which the color change happens in the light. So the settings of the color in those lighting system are made in such a way that suppose you are in a room and in that room no sunlight can enter. Still, the color of the light will be programmed in such a way that in the morning it will make you feel like it is morning. In the afternoon, the lights will make you feel like it is afternoon. In the evening, the lights will make you feel like it is evening. And similarly, in the night time, the light will make you feel like it is night time. So color change due to the various settings in the colors and all. Even if you don't get the sunlight, this artificial lights will make you know will make you know that it is morning, it is afternoon, it is evening, it is night. So even though artificially, your body will ultimately get synchronized. So then your efficiency will again increase. So It's a very good research, and it, this type of lighting system is not seen everywhere. So it's a very new area. So you should always try to study this and try to implement it in our region, because if you are subjected to just one artificial light for the whole day, then ultimately you will become less efficient. Your body will not feel good, isn't it? So for at least the sake of becoming more efficient, at least we should give some importance to this lighting system. We should always remember that our body is synchronized with the movement of the sun. That is one thing we should always give importance. So at the end, I can say that the sick building syndrome is a very important topic, and basically in this region, especially in this region, it should be given much importance, because uh, first and foremost, our region is much more favorable for growth of microorganisms. So the chances of getting sick is much higher here. And lastly, I want to conclude with the line that a building should be strong and healthy, but our health is also not less important than that of the building. So our health should also be given equal importance. Thank you very much for your time.